Okay. You all set to go, or do you want to talk about anything?
No, I'm ready to go.
All right. Hello, hello. You're listening to PHP Ugly, episode 128, the premier podcast for dog grooming tips and general canine hygiene. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me tonight, my brother from another mother, Tom Rideout.
Woof.
What's going on, brother?
Oh, not a whole lot. Busy week.
You got your beard coming back in, huh? Let's do a little play-by-play. I got mine coming back in too.
Yeah, growing it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole no shave November thing.
Well, I went back to the East Coast a couple weeks ago. The time I missed the podcast, I'd gone back east for a family wedding, and I went to my wife's hairdresser to get cleaned up before I left, and she just took it all off. I'm like, that's just not what I wanted.
Total butchery.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's finally starting to come back a little bit, but just in time for PHP World. Well, so what you been up to, Thomas? No John tonight.
Yeah, no John.
Complaining about chest pains or something. I'm not sure. Wasn't really paying that much
tingling in his arm or something. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it's talking about seeing some light. I just told him, I'm like, just walk it off, man. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Really.
Just head towards it.
Grab a beer.
Take a break.
So I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever join us again or not, but he is not here tonight. You know who is here?
Who?
Our Discord channel.
Oh yeah.
Somebody had a good idea, and I think I want to try to do this, but having a show where we have the Discord channel on the show, and I don't know, man. I think that would be kind of cool, like to have. It wouldn't have to be like a whole show, just maybe like if somebody in Discord has a question, you kind of bring them in, let them ask a question, or I don't know. I think that would be fun.
Like a call-in show?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like that, huh? When you say it like that, it sounds corny.
Hey, you listen to T-Dog and the Bone.
Oh man, we picked up some new Patreons. Did you notice that? Do you get those emails?
No, I don't get the emails, but I did take a look today, and I saw that we got up to 5. We've met our goal of a cadre.
5? We are almost in double digits, my friend. We're at 9. I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. We're not at 9. That's
7.
That's only people following. We're at 7. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So cool stuff, right?
Yeah. Huge thank you to our Patreons. That's awesome.
Yeah, we had Ryan. How do you pronounce that last name? Colson? Is that Colson? 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 Ryan Colson?
Yeah, that's like the easiest name on the list.
I know, right? It's like,
what are you doing?
He actually seems like he's here in the U.S. Should be able to pronounce that one. Yeah. And then I thought we had another one. There he is, David Kwan. David Kwan coming in.
David Kwan,
friend of the show, David Kwan. So Ryan, I know Ryan's in our Discord. I talked to him a little bit today. Thanked him for being a part of it, but
it's now Michael Drinda in the Discord wants to know how much you've already been drinking today, and I happen to know that you recorded Lair Chat live already, so I'm guessing quite a bit.
Well, not that much, but yeah. Don't listen to Dorinda. He's heavily medicated. He just had some knee surgery, and his wife is like giving him sponge baths, and it's
poor fella.
I'm telling you, he has a tough life right now.
Yeah,
they have a new kid that the wife has to take care of and take care of him. give them sponge baths and go because my knee hurts. I had surgery. That shit does hurt, though. I can tell you.
Yes.
I've seen pictures. I've seen. Well, I know what mine looked like. I've seen pictures of his, and oh my god.
Yeah, you're listening to T-Dog and the Dick.
Oh man! Hey, I got a programming question for you.
Yes, I love programming questions. I've been programming my ass off this week.
Have you?
Yeah.
It's almost like you make a living doing it.
Almost. Every once in a while, it looks like that.
I'd hoped to bring it up on Lyra Chat, but ran out of time. And I'm like, well, do I know any other programmers? I'm like, I guess kind of Thomas is kind of a programmer. Let me ask him. All right. I'm guilty of hanging on to certain patterns and encoding that I really enjoy. One of those patterns is polymorphism, which, as we discussed in our previous show, almost got me a divorce when my wife heard me talking about polymorphism. But apparently that's a thing that I had to look up, and I'm still doing research on that because I am a fan. But anyways, I'm polymorphism in the relationship. I feel like I need to prefix this with, this is how I use it in Laravel. So I don't know if there are other ways of using polymorphism and other, design patterns, but this is how I use it in Laravel. And in Laravel, if you're not familiar with it, it's a way of relating one table to several models. So instead of having a relationship where the one that always kind of the kind of classic example is with tags, right? So tags can belong to posts, but can also belong to a model post can also belong to a model of items. Tags can also belong to a model, several models, right? So several models can share tags, and there's a lot of different ways of accomplishing this with when you start talking about database structures, right? You could do types, but I prefer polymorphism. I really like this pattern, maybe too much. But what that does is it allows you to say, okay, in this record, that in this polymorphic record, this record, what is the model type that it's related to, and what is that model ID? So
Sure.
it can be related to any other model, as long as you just have that model type and model ID. It can relate to it. It seems like a very clean implementation to me, and it's like, in my head, it's getting like slowly getting steps and steps closer to almost having a NoSQL solution where structure doesn't matter anymore, right? Because everything can relate to everything else. But that's neither here nor there. This is still a relational database. Polymorphism relates to several models. You with me?
Barely.
Okay. Do you have any experience with polymorphic tables?
I do. I've got a couple polymorphic tables in my experience under my belt.
I'm gonna give you a real world example that we're dealing with, and then maybe you can tell me where I'm stumbling. Or I know where I'm stumbling. Maybe you can help me figure out what direction I should be looking in. So we have this table that has one of the fields in the table is a payment type, right? Mm-hmm. So the payment type is what's polymorphic, okay? Because the payment type can be a credit card, it can be a check, it could be a wire, and all these models, the credit card model, the check model, the wire model, they have their own set of data associated to them. So it's not a uniform set of data across the models.
You don't need a routing number for a credit card.
Right. And this is the nice thing about polymorphism, right? It's like, if I know it's a check, then just give me the ID for that check, and I'll get that information from there. My application is smart enough to know, oh, okay, this is a check, I'll handle it. Okay, beautiful, love it, perfect example of polymorphism. But as we're working through our problem, we came up to the issue of cache. And it was like, okay, well, cache is cache, right? I mean, we don't have a requirement for a model for cache. It's like if the transactions happens in cache, then that's all we need to know. There's no other data, like the other data that you'd think to be associated with it, like how much cache it was it, or that's all part of a higher up the chain of the transaction. We're tracking how much the transactions for and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just purely the payment type. So now that I have this model, well, I don't even have a need for a model. I don't need a cache model. But that now breaks my whole polymorphic approach to this table, or does it? Because I can't think of a way to continue to use a polymorphic table in this situation but have this bogus cache model out there. Even if I just created a cache model that didn't do anything, the way the logic works, it would still need IDs. So I feel like I'm like, okay, this is broken here for this requirement, or am I missing something? Can you help me with this?
Why wouldn't you just make an ID? Just have that one.
I mean, it would be the same ID, right, for all cache. Like, I mean, that just feels dirty. I mean, it's like bogus data.
Well, I wouldn't have done. I don't know if I would have done that as a polymorphic in the first place.
Okay, so what would you have done? What would you have done?
I'm trying to think here. So you take a transaction record and you morph it to a credit card transaction record.
Well, if that's the payment type, so the highlight of it is it's a transaction. It's recording a transaction. How much was exchanged, between what parties was it exchanged, when, where, blah blah blah, a bunch of stuff. And one of those things that we're trying to figure out is the payment type. Like, how was this transaction paid? And that's where it breaks off into its polymorphic table.
Yeah, so then you would still want a cache option, but you just wouldn't have any data to store except for the ID and the created at and updated at.
But what ID? I mean, there would be no ID for cache.
Why not?
There would be one. I mean, there would be one ID, but again, we're back to just creating data for the sake of creating data. If I create a cache model with a bogus ID and say, okay, this is the cache ID, I'm just creating data to create data at that point. It's not really functional data.
Well, there is other data that you should be capturing if you're dealing in cache. Namely, who received the cache, who entered the record.
That's captured somewhere else. That's part of the whole workflow. That's part of the transaction, but that's being captured. And that actually holds true. That actually holds true across all payment types. So whatever payment type it is, that information is captured.
Well, I believe Laravel by default morphs to other models.
Mm-hmm.
But my understanding of polymorphic is that it doesn't have to morph to another model. It's just a class. So you could have a cache class that you morphed to.
You think?
Now, I don't know if how strict Laravel is on that and how hard it would be to just reference a class instead of reference a model, but probably wouldn't work. Eloquent probably wouldn't support that.
I was to say, everything I ever saw, again, in the context of Laravel and polymorphic tables, it always referenced model type and model ID. So maybe it can reference a class. I mean, it's all code, but still, don't you have the same issue? I mean, the issue is the ID. Because
you can leave the ID blank. The ID is just used as part of the internal joinery.
You can, though.
Sure, you can.
You can't because then it's not the functionality when it does the morph to, it's looking up that record for that model.
Right. So you might have to override morph2. Morph2 might be too strict in this instance.
That's interesting. Event sourcing pattern. So
I mean, what you're asking is can you morph to nothing? And yeah, you can morph to nothing, but you have to be ready to catch null and assume that it's going to be cache if you catch null.
yeah, and see that's kind of the road I've been going down. So frontal nudity. Event sourcing is kind of what we're talking about here, sort of. So this whole transaction table is kind of an event source that's being captured, and then I'm trying to morph off of it. So yeah, I mean the other option. So I'm sorry, I'm breaking my train of thought here. That's kind of the path we're going down, Thomas, but I still feel like that's dirty code. Like it just doesn't feel right to me. It has that code smell to it where it's
yeah,
this doesn't seem right.
It stinks for sure.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel every time I do polymorphics in models. Polymorphic models, I've used them in the past several times, and my eventual position on it was polymorphic models don't help, they only hurt.
Oh, I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree with that at all. I'm a big fan of polymorphic models or tables, and yeah, but I'm stuck on this one. So, okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty and openness with me.
There are polymorphic classes.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where this concept comes from. But just my experience with it has not been great.
And I'm starting to feel like, I mean, am I overthinking this? Like maybe that can just be instead of it being polymorphic and having a model type and model ID, maybe I just make it a JSON column where I capture the model type and model ID in there. If there is one, and if there isn't, if it's just cache, I just capture cache and just not even worry about the morph2 piece of it and handle it all in code. That's kind of going to be my fallback play if I can't work this out any other way.
So I like that. But I would also look up. Well, I don't know what the word for it would be, but I would look at having series of transaction tables that know what to point to and how.
Well, so that's what this is building up to. So there are a series of transaction tables because all these transactions are coming in from various sources. And there's a lot of explanation that would have to go into the whole architecture of it, but it all boils down to we're trying to event source all the transactions across the platform, which kind of feeds into this transaction table, and this is where we're getting stuck because
but one of the things about event sourcing is excess collection of data, collecting more data than necessary for the time being.
Right.
Having a cache model and cache table. Yeah, you might be making an extra ID for cache transactions, but at least you're pointing at something that is expandable in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still working on it, and trying to figure it out. But
now there is looking at the documentation for morph2 and morph many. It looks like you could call an object, and as long as that object met the model contract, you could spoof a lot of behaviors.
Yeah, I still feel like that's kind of a workaround.
Oh, it is. I think not having a cache transaction record is the easy way, even if it's only storing an ID or a UUID. You know, because you could at some point decide that you want to track the serial number of the cache or what denomination bills it was in. you could eventually track additional information about it. So a model does make sense, even if for the time being it's only storing a ID and a created at record.
Mm.
I mean, it's not heavyweight, and it's an infrequent write.
No. Well, what do you mean infrequent? Why would it be infrequent?
Because it's less than page views. It's significantly. You're getting far more page views than transactions in cache.
No, this isn't dependent on page views. This is yeah. These are API endpoints that are tying into other devices. So yeah, all right. Well, I don't know. Think about it a little bit more. I'll figure it out. It's what I'd love to do.
Yeah.
What you been up to? What have you been coding? Oh, I want to pick your brain, brother. We're gonna have like a whole show on Laravel. No. You've been in our Slack channel just hyping up Telescope.
Yeah.
Talk about it, because you're probably more of a harsher critic of Laravel than I am. And for you to be so jazzed about a Laravel project intrigues me. Do explain.
Well, there's a lot of activity on the project, so that's thing number one. A huge number of pull requests getting accepted, people taking feature requests in the issues and implementing them.
How about we take a real quick step back? Assume that some listeners might not know what Telescope is, and why don't you kind of do that, and then let's go get into it.
Telescope is a debugging aid, a debugging and logging aid for Laravel 5.7 and greater. I think it's even 5.77 specifically.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's got a very specific version requirement. It will track queue hits, queries, requests, responses. The feature I talked about last time we discussed it that was missing was views and routes and the controller that executed functions. So stuff that's in the Laravel debug bar, but not in Telescope. Most of that stuff has been added at this point.
So that's I haven't had an opportunity to play with Telescope yet. It does look interesting, but I'm also a little hesitant to try it because, unlike pretty much every other debug implementation, Cake PHP comes with a debug bar. Symfony has this debug console bar. Even Laravel had versions of a debug bar or a Chrome plugin. This actually becomes part of your site. Am I understanding that correctly? Where it's actually a package you deploy within the application itself.
Yeah, so it deploys similar to Horizon. Because of how Laravel does its new service discovery platform, then you can include it as dev only. So you can include it as a local instance only. It does have an endpoint, which is just /telescope on every domain that your app is hosting. So it still suffers from some of the stuff that Horizon suffers from. And they say that you can use it in production, but I never would. I would never do that. You can add in your own custom authentication and stuff like that so that it has a login. But yeah, I was looking at something that I was looking at debug bar and what was missing there in Telescope and comparing the two, and they're getting caught up very fast. A lot of basic functionality isn't in Telescope. I think they just tonight got Postgres working with Telescope in like a push that went out an hour ago. But it's nice to have.
But what's drawing you to it? Because I mean, there are other debug bars and solutions out there. What draws you to Telescope? Because I have seen you mention nothing but Telescope in our Slack channel for like 2 days.
Well, the thing with debug bar is that it works on a JavaScript plugin and JSON after your request inserted into the request. So if you're goofing around, it can screw up the actual output that you're expecting to see from your site. It doesn't always give you exactly what you want, and it has no memory. It only gives you information about the page that you just loaded, and it can even struggle with handling redirects as well. Whereas Telescope, every hit is logged. So I can pull open the Telescope.
If you want every hit logged, right? I mean,
no, every hit is logged. There's not a lot of options for filtering yet.
Okay.
But that means that if I load a page that then loads 5 AJAX requests, and then I reload the page again, I still have the old page's data as well as the new page's data, and you can do some comparative debugging with that. And that's handy because with debug bar, the second you refresh the page, you lost the data that you just had. So doing comparative debugging is very, very difficult. It also has caching information, cache hits, cache misses, and cache refreshes, which debug bar doesn't have. And it has a DD to the logger functionality. So you can do a dump into Telescope that won't interfere with the execution of the page, and then view the result of that dump in Telescope.
Interesting.
Which I like. And it's got a nice interface. It functions quite well.
Was it easy to set up, easy to install?
Yeah. It is an open GitHub project, so you don't have to deal with downloading zip files or anything like that, which is nice. But
and it's free, right? I mean,
and it's free. It's free, totally open source. It's getting maintained by Mohammed, and yeah, it's very active. I'm subscribed. It's the only GitHub project I'm subscribed to, and I'm getting 20 or 30 emails a day from activity from GitHub.
Well, you didn't give me a bunch of overwhelming evidence to try it, but I've been seeing a lot of talk on it. I mean, just go ahead and install it. I mean, it's just a package. I can always remove it if I need to.
Yeah, but it's a simple install. You just composer install it and then run artisan Telescope install, and that's the whole process.
Is there is there a database component to it? Does it create tables or anything like that?
It does create one Telescope entries table.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's not the worst thing to happen. Okay. I might have to give this a shot.
My only issue is that the whole thing's written in Vue, which I'm not good at. So
I thought you were a big fan of Vue. I thought you were
Nah.
all about embracing that.
I'd love to someday, but that gets me too close to the front end. I don't want to. I don't want to be responsible for that stuff.
I hear you. Okay. All right. Well, since we're having a little bit of a Laravel show, and I did do LaraChat earlier, so maybe I'm just in the Laravel mindset right now. But have you checked out Laracast lately?
I didn't see today's. Oh, I didn't see the update. I heard about it.
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
I don't know if I still have an account on Laracast.
Oh, really? Come on, you talk to your boss about that. He'll take care of you.
Well, I don't use it anymore. I feel like I've done the vast majority. And when I did go into Laracast to do some Vue stuff, it wasn't what I needed.
I'll be honest. I haven't used it on a regular basis in a very long time, and even the content that has been uploaded maybe over the past year, I've noticed there just hasn't been that much new shiny things to talk about with Laravel.
Right.
I mean, if you look, it's what's new in Laravel 5.7, what's new in Laravel. There's not a whole lot of new patterns and things because he's kind of already done all that. But I don't think I would ever give up my subscription, and I struggle with, once a year he does the whole you can buy a lifetime subscription, and I struggle every year with thinking about doing that. But we actually pay for subscriptions
Oof.
for all of our developers. So we have a team account.
$350.
Yeah, but if you keep it for like, what is it? I think I did the math. It was like 4 or 5 years, right? It pays for itself.
It'll pay for itself in 4 years.
Yeah. So, but we have team accounts. So, I just pay for access for all the DiegoDev contractors. It's kind of one of the perks you get for working with us. So we just pay that every year, and it's fine. But yeah, I can actually go in there and see the stats of the team and who actually uses it. I don't know if they know this or not, but I can see.
I'm just finding this out, so I'm guessing no.
I can see who's actually using it, and holy smokes! For the first time ever, I've been surpassed on by one of our developers, one of our not one of our number one lead developer, finally surpassed me. But him and I have always been kind of hovering neck and neck. We still are neck and neck. We're somewhere between 450 and 500 watched videos. And then the next person to us is at about 72. If I hover over it, I can see. So our developer Kalen is at 482 videos that he's viewed. I'm at 473.
That guy's got too much time on his hands.
And then the next person is at 72. Yeah, so my question is, did I pay for 482 hours of you watching videos?
Mm-hmm.
Did you just charge me for 482 videos? But yeah, money well spent. I feel.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I logged in. The new site looks really good.
It's a very vaporwave aesthetic. I like it.
Yeah, there's a whole Nova series that I see he has here that I'm starting to work my way through that. So yeah, you don't hear a whole lot from Jeffrey anymore. Jeffrey Way, the creator of Laracast. He used to be like the voice of Laravel. Like if anything happened in Laravel or Laravel community, usually came in through Jeffrey, and he's just kind of off. I know he had some kids, or had a kid, maybe 2 kids by now, and he's kind of off doing his own thing with Laracast. So
kids ruin everything.
They will bleed you dry, man.
That is rough.
They will bleed you dry, drain you. But my wife tells me it's been the best years of my life, so I should embrace that.
Yeah, you should. No, don't argue with her on that one. That's quick fight.
Yeah. All right.
I had a fun project today.
Let's hear about fun projects.
I had to create a tool that just sort of allowed our editor people to update the default Twitter text and image for a couple different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a table where we store just random stuff. So I dropped it into that table and spent about 4 hours on the front end, back end, the whole shebang. Got to the end of it, finished it, pushed it out to my boss, and he looked at it and said, "Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be one for male and one for female. So I need you to double the system again."
One what? One what for male?
One default text for male actors and default text for female actors.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
When we tweet through this profile system that we've created.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a whole set of data that is not indexed by gender or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I have to add that indexing and then duplicate the whole system. And and I was told this at 5:55, 5 minutes before getting off work. It's just like, Jesus.
Awesome. That's way to do it. I did some Python coding this week. Was it this week? What's today? Thursday? Yeah, it was this week. It was actually, it was over the weekend. I did some Python coding, and it was for a project for work. I'm sitting here, and we have a requirement where we have a bunch of images stored in the database, and we're talking about thousands of images. Not the image themselves, just their location on the S3 bucket, Amazon S3 bucket. So I had to write a quick export for this so that I grabbed all the images for a particular client. And that was easy. It was a model, blah, 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 select, boom, boom. But I'm looking at all these URLs. I'm like, all right, now I have to go download 5,000 images from S3. I'm like, gosh, even though it's a PHP artisan command, I'm like, I really don't want to do this in PHP. And I'm just thinking about everything I need to, all the hoops I need to jump through to go do it. And
what?
And I don't know. I just didn't feel like doing it in PHP. So I fired up some Python, and I pulled in the export I just created of where all the files are located. I pulled it into my Python script, and I iterated through it and went out to S3 and downloaded it. It ended up being like 60 gigs of images that I just let it run overnight. But I got the whole thing done in I think it was 20 lines of Python code. It still amazes me how clean Python code could be.
I have it here in one line of Bash.
Oh, really? Bash?
Yeah, you have a file that has all your file locations, right? A text file?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can cat that to curl.
Yeah. But you can't just curl it because it's S3. You have to authenticate to the bucket. Right? So they're not publicly displayed images.
Okay.
So you have to authenticate to the bucket and pull it down from the bucket. So it worked. I mean, it was fun. It was fun to code in something besides PHP. I used to be a big fan of Python. I never got as good at Python as I am at PHP. And some would argue, you're not good at PHP. Gotcha. Beat ya. Gotcha. But
I wasn't going to say that. That'd be mean.
But I do enjoy coding in Python. And it was fun. It was just fun to do something productive in another language for a change. That wasn't PHP or JavaScript.
I think I did Python once a while back. I don't remember any of it now. It's all gone to me.
I definitely feel like had I not made a few decisions that took me down the road of PHP, I hands down would have been a Python programmer.
Because your beard would be huge then, though.
Oh, wow, it would be massive. It would be more down here in the neck, and I would be very, very angry.
You'd have suspenders.
No, I realize this. But when I was going down the diving into the world of learning development, quote unquote web development, the person who was kind of directing me at the time was getting me involved with Perl for obvious reasons, right? Because that was kind of the standard.
CGI bin.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's something that you can tell the age of a developer right away when you ask them, "Hey, do you know what CGI bin means?" Right. If they don't know what that means, then it's been 6 or 7 years. That's the most.
So I as he's taking me down this path, that's when I learned about Python. And at that time, using Python on the web was not pretty. It was very difficult and actually
hideous.
Yeah, not something you typically did. But it turned out my career was also changing at the time where I was getting more into operations. And that's where Python was shining, because it's like, oh yeah, you can write all these scripts to do all this operation stuff for you. So I started getting into Python as well, and then I took a PHP class, and my whole world just flipped completely upside down. And I'm like, oh no, this is the direction. Yeah. This is where I want to be.
I don't want to spend my days grandfathering log files.
So
it's the only thing I ever did with Python.
It's good. It's good at that too.
Log rotation.
Exactly. Well, not only log rotation, but log analytics.
I've got some PHP news since you brought it up.
Okay. Man, we should not have John on the show more often because we just talk about coding stuff.
Yeah, you didn't need to qualify that. You just said we shouldn't have John on anymore. By unanimous decision,
Unanimous.
opcache preloading has been included in Laravel, or I'm sorry, in PHP 7.4. See, now you've got me talking Laravel.
What does this mean? What does this translate? Talk to me like I'm a third grader. Why do I care about this?
Opcache has increased performance greatly in PHP by caching common functions, common calls into memory and calling those functions out of memory in a tokenized state or in a precompiled state.
Mm-hmm.
The issue, though, is that bootstrapping an application still requires the read from the disk and the execution of the non-cached components of the script. This new RFC, which has been accepted, will load scripts into memory in a compiled state and execute them straight from memory.
Okay, that seemed like a lot of technical jargon. So this will just happen by default now, or what's this?
This is an
RFC saying?
INI file option. The INI file will allow you to turn on opcache.preload, and I believe it will default to off, but I'm not sure. I really actually don't know if it's going to be defaulted to off or not.
That's why we report the news, to further confuse and disenchant people. Good job.
It's been tested. ZF1 Hello World, which is a Zen framework-based common testing platform.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly 30% speed improvements. ZF2 test, another common reference test, a 50% speed increase.
Nice. Always like the speed increases. That's always positive.
So don't be surprised if when you upgrade to 7.4 in, I think, like 4 months, suddenly you get massive performance increases because...
If you're using caching, right?
If you're using it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's apparently what this thing does. I mean, really, really speeds things up. Frameworks can write themselves to spec so that they are executed faster.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some instruction in the proposal as to how to optimize your framework so that it caches faster and executes better in this preload scenario. It doesn't seem to have any kind of backwards compatibility breaking issues. There are explicit calls that could fail. So it's worth reading about the RFC, but yeah, I'm happy to see a 50% increase in performance in the next version. You know, that's nice.
That's always a plus. You know, we skipped over it, but did you realize Laravel telescope? Yeah, I am intoxicated. My tongue is not working correctly here.
Just talk with your tongue out so it doesn't get in the way.
Laravel telescope was announced. Do you know where it was released and announced?
Laracon EU?
Close. AU. Laracon this year was the premier year, the birth year of Laracon AU, run by friend of the show, Michael Dorinda.
Yeah.
Who is nursing a boo-boo knee and having his wife give him sponge baths, as we established earlier in the show.
I apologize for my friend Eric. He's been drinking.
No apologies for me. But I heard the conference was very well received by all, like 7 or 8 people who attended. No, I think there might have been a few more than that. Few more than probably that attended wave. No, not probably, for sure. That attended wave. Yeah.
Oop,
Yeah.
hold on. Oh, fuck me.
What's wrong?
I just ran out of disk space on my recording drive.
That's a problem.
Can you kill your recording?
No. Don't worry about it.
Okay,
I
we'll do a second clap check.
No. Listen to me. I have you on my recording because John isn't here. My other stream is just you.
Yeah, but you're getting a low quality me.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna clear up.
Come on, man. I'm looking for more professionalism than this.
Well, you came to the wrong podcast.
Oh, damn it. This is why Michael Dorinda won't have me on North Meets South, because of shit like this.
One of many reasons.
Tired of this shit.
You're not.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm spinning.
Do I
edit this out?
Do I delete DuckTales?
Oh God, you and your torrents.
They're not torrents, Mom.
Whatever. Or was that a porn? Was that like DuckTales the porn?
No. What? No. Gross. Baby. Oh, there we go.
This is exciting viewing for all involved. Thanks, Frontal Nudity and Mike for hanging out with us.
All right. You ready for a clap check?
Sure. Lay it on me.
3, 2, 1.
Awesome.
All right. So now I'm recording my second stream of the night. Where were we?
I honestly don't remember. I think we were talking about Australia, Laricon EU.
Yes, you were insulting friend of the show, Michael Dorinda.
So yeah, I was looking at I really want to go to another Laricon outside of the US next year. And Laricon EU has been high on my list for years. But Australia is still like Sydney is basically the California of Australia. So I don't know. I kind of want to go there too, but it's expensive. Oh my God, it's so expensive to fly to Australia.
Well, yeah, and everything that lives there is trying to kill you.
And it's a completely different, like, you talk about time zones. It's like a whole time warp thing. They're in like another day or something there. It's bizarre. You're like, I don't know. I don't know if my body can handle the travel. It would be difficult.
I have an interesting article here.
I wanted to go through one thing. Go ahead.
All right.
No, all yours. What's your interesting article?
YouTube shut down a hole in its advertising system that allowed advertisers to mine cryptocurrency through the ads on YouTube.
Okay.
I thought this was interesting because I saw so little coverage about this, and this is just sort of the new normal now. Cryptojacking is just, something you have to deal with, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Ad blockers should catch it, but don't always. YouTube should catch it, but they don't always. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. YouTube had cryptojacking advertisements on it while you were watching YouTube. That's
interesting.
Pretty nasty.
I don't get advertisements on YouTube.
Yeah,
I think I must pay for something that takes them out or something. I don't know.
I have YouTube Premium and an ad blocker, so
yeah, that's what I think. I have
in general.
I have the premium that shows up in the left hand corner, so that must be it. Okay, so we're talking earlier about voting in unanimously the RFC for caching, preload, op cache. You didn't think I was paying attention, did you? You're actually right. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. You know what else was not elected unanimously? My daughter for mayor of Poway. My daughter wrapped up her campaign last week. We've been following this for a couple of shows now, but she did not win her run to become mayor of Poway. But she made a very Don't you have a mute button for that?
Yes, I pressed the wrong button.
But she made a very respectful run for mayor of Poway. And I tell you what, I for one was very impressed. She was right in the thick of it. Now, the person who won is the current mayor. He won by a landslide. He won by over 50% of the votes. But my daughter came in third, but her and the second place person, there were like a couple hundred votes separating the two of them, and it was just like all night they were just kind of running neck and neck. But like neither one of them, even if you put both of their, like if my daughter had not ran and everybody who voted for my daughter voted for the person who came in second place, he still would have lost by like 40% of the votes. So, but it was good. It was she seems very engaged now, and
yeah, she's not dropping out of the politics game. This has just got the taste.
And that's what I said. I'm like, you were a 20-year-old woman just out of college, out of a 2-year college, not even a 4-year college, just out of a 2-year college. No practical political experience, not involved with city politics up to this point. And that's the showing you made. I mean, think about how dangerous you're going to be when you actually know what you're doing next time and you're actually involved and you understand all the issues. Because that was the thing. It's like they would have these debates. No, they weren't really debates. They were just kind of all the candidates would sit up on stage and they would all be asked the same question. And it was kind of like a loaded topic, because the current mayor, they would ask him questions about politics, the town politics that he's currently involved with. And so he had very insightful answers. Well, we're doing this. We have this in the budget. We're talking about this. We've spoken to this person. And all the other candidates were just kind of like, well, if I was mayor, I would probably think about this, or we would probably do it this way. And it was very hard to listen. And it wasn't only Emily. It was all three of the candidates running against the mayor. It was very hard to hear them give responses, because you just got that sense of, well, they're not connected. They don't understand what's happening. They're not part of the system. He's right. Part of the system. He understands what's happening, for good, for better or for worse. He's dialed in. And it just reflected that way with all these questions. There were never questions that like leveled the playing field, where every answer was kind of like everybody had to give kind of a generic answer. It was always, he had a very insightful answer of the way it's being handled, and then everybody else just kind of had to, talk about how they would have done it. So the fact that he won by so much, wasn't that surprising to me. But I told her, I'm like, I was explaining to my daughter, it's like, you get involved with the city council, you get on the inside and you understand, what's being done and how it's being done, and you play the political game, and next time around, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see her keep going.
Yeah. So I mentioned last week we made it on Spotify, thanks to a listener who just asked, said, "Hey, help me out. I'm trying to find you on Spotify and I can't." So I did that. Somebody else reached out to me and said, "Hey, if with all these Internet of Things devices, the Amazon device, the Google device, they all have the ability to listen to podcasts, but some of them use a service called TuneIn. So you want to be on TuneIn as well, because if you're on TuneIn, then somebody can just say, 'Hey, play me the podcast PHP Ugly,' and it'll play the podcast through TuneIn." And I knew exactly what they were talking about when they said it, because I have the Amazon device, and I knew that's where it played this podcast from. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, that makes sense. So I went ahead and got us on Tune. So PHP Ugly is now on TuneIn as well.
So you can now say, "Alexa, play PHP Ugly."
Yep.
Does it work? Have you tested it?
I haven't. Let's give it a test. Hey Alexa, play the latest PHP Ugly podcast. It does not work.
So we'll get working on that. We'll make sure that by the time this gets released, that works.
I was assured by TuneIn that we are live, so I don't know. I'm
maybe
drunk too.
Maybe
I'm
PHP
sure.
doesn't translate well.
Am I saying PHP Ugly clearly?
Yeah.
I can't even tell.
I mean, as clear as normal.
Okay.
Oh, I've got a doozy for you.
All right, let's wrap it up with your doozy. We're doing good on time. This will be a good one. Let's do it.
Disk level encryption for SSDs has been found to be almost completely useless.
Gosh. I guess we're just walking right into doom and gloom here, aren't we?
Yeah, you knew we were. These are big names.
You need a signal before you do that. But
Samsung EVOs, Crucial MX series. So the issue is that there is a bit in the firmware called master password capability, and it can be set to a factory set master password that can unlock the drive. The big deal here is BitLocker, the Microsoft product, uses disk level encryption for most of its functionality. It turns out that master password can be decrypted from a RDS, I don't know what that is, RDS key on the SSD. So you grab the RDS key and decrypt it. And you might be asking me, well, how hard is it to decrypt the RDS key? It must be hard.
Yeah. How hard is it to decrypt RDS key there, Thomas Righto?
The password for the MX300 series RDS key was a blank string. So it was self-decrypting.
Well, there you go.
So if you're running full disk encryption on an SSD for any reason whatsoever, don't turn it off. Revert to a software level encryption. This probably
is that really the recommendation?
Yes.
Are you just saying that, or is that the recommendation?
That is the recommendation that's being made by Samsung, Crucial, which is Micron, and by the researchers who discovered this issue.
I do run full disk encryption too on my laptops.
Also, the issue that there is a master factory password bit. There is a functionality built into hardware encryption that if you get permission from the factory, you can just decrypt the drive. Is also a bit of a bummer. I wasn't aware that security layer just didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're using BitLocker or any other kind of hardware level encryption on an SSD, look up if it's been compromised, because lots of them have been.
All right, you suck, but I get it.
I don't suck.
I get it. No,
I
get it.
I just bring you the news.
I get it. All right.
You follow Freakmers?
Whoa, we're still talking?
Yeah.
What? Who? Freak? Yeah, I follow Freak. We hung out at Luricon in Chicago this year.
He had a
great drinks.
He had a great post where he published his setup, his hardware and software setup with pictures and all that jazz, and challenged other people to show their setups.
Oh, I should do that. We're getting ready to move into the new DiegoDev offices. Maybe I'll do that.
I recommend you should check it out. It's mers.be, and there'll be a link in there. I'm sure you can find it, or be in the show
Look at that.
notes.
First guy on the list, Michael
Drinda.
This guy is freaking all over the place.
He
just
is.
getting
I
flat
cannot
out
get rid of him.
by that.
He's got. You can see his audio setup right there. It's just, just ridiculous.
Oh God, what is that? Is that one of those standing desk converting things? It sure the hell is. This guy.
He's running Mojave.
Whatever.
Running Sublime Text 3. Not just Lakers. Right. I believe that's specifically a Kobe collage.
Is that a Kobe? Yep, I see it now. Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe.
So this is what you can expect if you're a friend of the show, is being constantly berated by us.
This is music. 90% of the time he has his AirPods in. Oh God! He just what?
So I'm interested in doing this because I actually am proud of my setup, except that it's always filthy dirty. It's so disgusting.
Yeah, I
have so much garbage all over my workstation.
I can't be looking at all these. I don't see Freaks though. Where's Freaks at?
His is on the original post.
Where's is it in the show notes? You don't link it in the show notes? Because
it's in there. It's in the
it just has other people's setups.
That's the link I was looking at. Where's his original one?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Jeez. Did you see Taylor's? That is a sign of a sick mind right there.
Yeah, Taylor's doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's a sick mind right there.
The single monitor setups, I don't understand.
I don't. Yeah, that's crazy.
I've got 3 monitors, and I feel like I'm low on space. I need more.
Yeah, we're signing the lease. We've had construction going on at the new DiegoDev offices for the past probably about the past month, and we are going to sign the lease tomorrow, and hopefully start to get moved in here shortly. So I'm excited about that. I have really warmed up to the idea of having an office again, but
this is a bigger space than the last office, right?
Yeah, much bigger.
Because I was in the last office and I didn't fit with you and John in the room at the same time.
You're gonna. I have a feeling you're gonna want to come visit. We're gonna do a stream or something of the new office because it's gonna be fun. I'm really excited about it. So we'll see. Oh, hey, you wouldn't. All right. So friends of the show, listeners of the show, you want to hear something fun?
Yeah. What's going on?
Freck. We were talking about Freck earlier, right?
Mm-hmm. He
has one of the more popular companies in the Laravel ecosystem, Spotty, right? Or he's one of the owners of Spotty. So as I said, when he came to and I don't remember what his URL is. It's Spotty. It's not. I forget what it is. What is Spotty's URL? Spotty.be. Spotty.be. So, like I said, we're in Chicago. We're at Laracon. He's there. I think it was the last day of Laracon, and he comes and he ends up at the hotel with me and a bunch of DiegoDev people, and we're sitting there and we're drinking and we're talking about we're talking about potentially doing some work with them because we had some stuff lined up, and so we're talking about doing some work, and I'm like, hey, DiegoDev, we're looking to rebrand ourselves. I think we're going to become we're going to take the Spotty name here in the US and grab spotty.com domain. And he just laughed at me. He's like, yeah, no, man, that's already taken. Yeah, Yeah, no, man, it wasn't taken. It's taken now.
Are you kidding me? Just making enemies left and right.
I'm redirecting it to his site. I told him, I'm like, look, I'm like, you lied. It wasn't, I'm doing you a favor, man. It's like somebody else could have taken it. So, yeah, I actually own spotty.com as a little inside joke to anybody who happens to be a PHP Ugly fan. So, right now, all I do is I forward it to spotty.b just because I'm a nice person and I had full disclosure. Yeah, it's true. I am kind of a dick, but I had full disclosure to Freck, and we had a good laugh over it. And if he ever asks for the domain, I think I even offered to transfer the domain to him, but it's out there. So I actually own Spotty.com. I own a piece of Spotty. That's how I look at it. Whenever somebody talks about Spotty, I'm like, yeah, I got a piece of that. Speaking of having a piece of something, God, I've had a lot to drink. I really should think I shouldn't be talking so much, especially when John's not here. Let me just say,
he's not the boss.
Along with the new offices, DiegoDev is going to have some, I'm hoping, some very exciting news in the coming weeks. We're in the process of wrapping up some legal matters, paying some fines, attending some classes, those sort of things. But all in all, in a couple of weeks, I am hoping to have a very big announcement for DiegoDev.
Very big.
So very big. I'll let the Patreons know about it first.
Oh yeah, good call. Inside knowledge.
Inside knowledge. It's like, yeah. I'll let if you're a Patreon member, you can redirect spotty.com to your local website for a day. That's gonna be one of the perks or levels.
It's less of a Patreon, more of a thieves guild.
All right, man. I've had too much to drink. I need to go to bed.
All right.
Can we wrap this up? Are we done?
I think we are. I don't have a whole lot or anything else left on my ticket here.
Awesome. All right. That's going to be it for episode 128. That's a 1, followed by 2, followed by an 8.
Heaping glass of bourbon.
I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm Tom Rideout. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
All right. So now I stopped this recording.
Good job, man.
Export that as part 2.
Are you stopping local? Let me stop local. Local. Oh my God. Where's my local recording? I shouldn't encourage drinking so much. I really.
So, are you following this thing with the CNN correspondent who got kicked out of the White House?
I was telling my wife about it. It's like they were talking about how the video that I watched it live, like I watched it happen, and they were talking about the video that the White House released was altered.
Right.
And it was crazy because when I was watching the quote unquote altered video, I'm like, no, that's pretty much what happened. Like, it didn't look like that crazy to me. Then like, then the guy starts pointing out like, oh, you see these shadows, see this, see that. I'm like, all right, but that's kind of what happened. And then you watch it side by side with what actually happened, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, that does make him look worse than that other video, doesn't it?
Right.
It makes him look like he was way more aggressive, and she was like all calm and slow. It's like, oh, I see what they're saying now.
Yeah, and that was the video that was released by the White House and produced by a pro-white supremacist.
I mean, it's just like another nail in the coffin of we're flat out manipulating the media before we release it. This is the White House we are now.
Yeah.
This is your government. We're going to manipulate the story how we want it to be to the best of our ability.
Which to me is the craziest thing, is that this is the White House of fake news, and they're the ones producing these fake propaganda hit pieces. And you're like, that's the thing you said is the problem with America. You're the problem with America? That's crazy.
I'm watching his interaction with them, and I'm like, how is this okay? Like, at what level does the Senate not just like have an intervention with him and say, you've got to fucking stop this?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's what I was telling my wife, is that I look at all of the kids growing up right now and what they look at the Republican Party standing for, and how are they ever going to say that's what I stand for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as the boomers fade out and this generation comes into power, the whole Republican Party just looks absurd. It looks crazy. And now that Sessions is out and they've got the new guy in, who
Which
apparently constitutionally they can't.
Could that not been more of an obvious play? It's like, okay, you won't do what I'm telling you to do, which is squash this Russian investigation, so you're out,
Right. And because now the Democrats hold the House, they can actually do something, so better get rid of the guy who recused himself, because he's already said he's not going to stop the Democrats from doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had to do it that night. He had to do it immediately, because the whole tax return thing is coming up.
Yeah,
we're going to see his taxes now.
Oh, we are?
That's like
sure?
That's the first thing on the agenda for the House.
Yeah. And man, don't get me on to politics. See, you're tricking me. You know I'm weak because I've been drinking, but yeah, man. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed as an American in our political system right now, and the way the rest of the world is looking at us. I mean, I know the rest of the world didn't always agree with us and didn't, had their opinions and negative views on us, but I always stood behind our government, whether I always agreed with them or not. I'm like, okay, no, this is our government. This is what we're doing. Screw you guys. But now I can't even do that. I'm like, I can't. I just can't anymore. It's horrible.
Yeah, I'm with you. We need to see major changes, because the shit that's going on is just weird.
Yeah.
Like the Georgia election, that's completely rigged by the guy who's running the election and running for Congress.
I wasn't aware of this.
Oh yeah, no, the guy who's in charge of the process of electing the next congressman was running for Congress, and like just wiping millions of people. Yeah. It's like he wiped millions of people off the voter record, and for some reason, voting machines in black communities weren't shipped with power cords, so the batteries on them died in a couple hours.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and so he declared himself the winner and resigned as the head of the Electoral Commission so that he could start his work as congressman. But the votes haven't all been tallied yet. He's just saying, I won, fuck off.
Well, that was some of the dirtiness. I mean, nowhere near that level. But that was some of the dirtiness that happened in our local politics. The race that Emily was running in, the mayor, a lot of people think the mayor's pretty shady, right? But one of the shadier things he did is he added somebody to the council who just moved into Poway, because you have to be a resident of Poway, and he added her to the council when there were other members who were applying to fill the seat, and he just bypassed everybody and said, "Nope, taking her." And because it was a seat that was left open by somebody who departed early, so they had to fill it.
Yeah.
So a bunch of people stepped up, applied. There was a whole process to apply for the seat, and he just basically disregarded all that, the whole process, and assigned somebody, which was a blatant disregard of our city's charter and everything that's legal about how to do things. And he just says, "Yeah, no, I did that. So, fuck you guys." And then, so this person who, who has questionable experience and questionable, everything else, she has to run for election now in the same election that, my daughter's running for. So she's running for a council seat. She's not running for mayor, but the mayor is campaigning with her. And so she's only been been a resident of Poway for not very long, and she wins by a landslide. And the question everybody asks is like, who's voting for her? Like, nobody I know wants to vote for her. Who's voting for her? And it's just it's really shady. I mean, it's super shady.
The thing I get stuck in is saying to myself, who's voting for this person? Because everyone lives in such a bubble now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, you don't know anybody who's voting for that person, and you probably won't encounter them at all.
Right. You don't follow them on Facebook. You're not part of their circles. So yeah, of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
Nobody.
You're not on farmersonly.com.
So yeah, it was weird. All right, man. I gotta go, man. I've had a lot to drink, and I want to go to bed. All right.
You sleep well.
You've got editing duties.
Yes, especially after
Discord,
fucking up the recording.
Michael Dorinda, if you're out there still listening, things frontal Nugent. That's Nugent. That's
Nougaty.
Vancouver. But it's Nugent though. It's
it's Nugety. Yeah, it's frontal Nugety.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's Ted Nugent.
I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. You guys are awesome. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
I gotta stop the stream.
No, you're in charge.
Holy crap, dude.